I personally believe that Aikido is an authentic spiritual tradition. Or certainly it's an authentic spiritual path. And I actually do believe that we need to reclaim Aikido as one of humanity's sacred awakening traditions. What I want to do for you today, as I said, I'm going to give you like a micro teaching. And it's really just a small little thing that goes deep. It's kind of a way to punch a hole in the matrix and get to the essence of what we're doing in Aikido. And if you remember O Sensei's injunction, he left one really crystal clear injunction for all of us, and that injunction is none other than Masakatsu Agatsu. Masakatsu Agatsu means true victory is victory over oneself. Now, of course, Aikido, martial art, this is in the context of conflict and stress and conflict. We hold this injunction, true victory is victory over oneself, and that is going to help us get through conflict. So it's very important to remember, we'll probably fail, true victory is victory over oneself, but it's a great practice to hold in the midst of any type of conflict, any type of stressful situation while you go forward. Now, it's also important to remember that you can do Aikido under stress. You can do Aikido in a conflictual way. You can do any martial art under stress or in a conflictual way, when we're triggered. But if you do it in stress, you can remember that your fight, flight, freeze reflexes are going to be probably operating rather than your higher intelligence, your higher wisdom in those moments. And in a sense, it may look like Aikido. You may be doing Aikido techniques, but it's always going to be a zero-sum solution. A zero-sum the end of the formula is going to be zero-sum. So that means that one person is going to win, and the other person is going to lose. If you win, you're satisfied. You won. If you lose, like, ooh, I don't feel so good. So winning is always at the cost of another person, and that's actually all that the ego can do. Put the ego in conflict, and it only understands my ego, your ego. It's the same thing. It only understands zero-sum. And the way that it unfolds is a fight, flight, or freeze. Aikido, the principles of Aikido are actually coming from a higher place. It is not zero-sum. We enter into conflict, full center, full awareness, full connection. We enter into conflict. And yet, somehow, magically, conflict gets resolved. Not win-lose, but it's a win-win. In other words, at the end of at the end of the conflict is resolved, it's not at the expense of anybody. If I feel completely 100% satisfied in that moment, and the other person in that resolution also feels 100% completely satisfied. It's not agreeing to disagree, because to agree to disagree, I have to give up half of my desire, half of my equation to you, and you give up half to me, and we kind of go away, or we move to the middle, and we try to find a nice place. That's not what it's about. That's definitely better than win-lose, but it's still 50% here, 50% there equals 100%. But the Aikido resolution of conflict is that it's win-win. In other words, it's 100% satisfaction on one side, 100% satisfaction on the other side. And it's not just, and the two added together don't equal 100%. They don't even equal 200%. It's like multiplied the satisfaction. Win-win. Now the big question is, how do you do that? So, you can do Ikkyo, Nikkyo, Sankyo, Kotegaeshi forever and really never get to this place where you actually kind of understand how to do that. You have to do a different type of practice. You have to do an inner practice. You have to do what I would call a spiritual practice. You need some spiritual methodologies. For example, meditation. Aikido practice from the principles is a spiritual methodology. It's a spiritual technology. And that's always going to bring you to the place where conflict gets resolved in this kind of magical way. But, so you can do your Aikido practice. You can have a kind of a long-term meditation practice which will take you deeper into the spiritual dimension, or you can do this. And this is what I said is a micro teaching. It's something that I call the Aikido Koan. And where's my pen? Here's my pen. Let me just get a glass of water. So if you think of stress, conflict, you with somebody else, it could be a family member, spouse, the kids, neighbor, somebody at work, somebody at the market, somebody you meet on the street, it doesn't really matter. But if you think of conflict, when we get into conflict, we usually kind of behave or react when we're not kind of in our center, we're not mindful, we're going to react in one of three ways. We're going to react passively. Like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And we just kind of, because we don't want to deal with we don't want the conflict to keep going, so we just passively, give in. And it's like, yeah, you can have your way. So we give in as a way to get rid of the conflict. Whew, thank God that's over. But it's not over, because if you're passive, it just keeps coming back and it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back. So you can be passive. That's one way, egoic way to react in a conflict. Another egoic way to react in a conflict is aggressive. You approach the conflict and you try to control it. Both of these are control moves. Yeah, passive is, in a way, it kind of controls the situation. Aggressive clearly goes out and tries to control the situation. The third way that you can react in conflict, when there's a little bit of stress, where it's like, is passive aggressively. So passive, you kind of fade to the background and give in. Aggressive, you lean in, you move forward, and you try to control and dominate the conflict. And passive-aggressive is an interesting one. Aggressive, you see, it's crystal clear. Everybody can say, oh, wow, look at that guy, he's aggressive. I say guy because it's usually men, but also women can be like that. It's crystal clear. It's out front. It's not hidden in any way. Wow, look how aggressive they are. Passive is also, it's in relationship to the aggressive. It's kind of also, it's not so out front, but you can see it. Oh, look, that person. Think of two dogs. One dog kind of cowers down. Yeah, he's passive. He's giving in. Passive-aggressive is a tricky one, because usually passive-aggressive you can't see. Passive-aggressive is this kind of really clever, tricky way that we all do, more or less, to pull the levers of power to control a situation, but by looking like, oh no, it's not me. What? I didn't do that. No. In a way, we kind of hold back, but we also control. So it literally is a combination of these two things. You may have one way of responding. In fact, think about it right now. Are you a more passive type in conflict, generally speaking? Are you in a more aggressive type in conflict? Let's see those hands, including me. Are you a more passive-aggressive type in conflict? Okay, it's going to be one of those three things. You might be centered and you might be able to stay open, have a good Aikido moment and really meet the conflict and the stress and work with it. That's where we want to go. But, despite our best intentions, we usually act passively, we act aggressively, or we act passive-aggressively. That hidden should be like this. Passive-aggressive? No. What are you talking about? It's not me. And you're kind of controlling things. I like to compare it to, think of a pool table with all the 8 pockets in the pool table. And you somehow have a very subtle hidden power to where's my hands? Here we go. To tilt the pool table so all the balls roll into your pocket. But it's hidden. It's under the table. It's like, well, no, but you actually got the power. This is avoiding power. This is taking power, and this is like hiding that you're taking power. 3 moves that we can make in the midst of conflict. The Aikido Koan can't be done. Aikido, by the way, can't be done if you're passive. Sorry. Aikido can't be done. You can do kotegaeshi, you can do techniques passively, but you can't really do Aikido at its spiritual, at its level of principles. You can't do Aikido at the level of principles if you're aggressive. And you can't do Aikido at the level of principles if you're passive-aggressive. So these 3 egoic moves are always zero-sum. Somebody wins and somebody loses. Somebody wins and somebody loses. Somebody wins and somebody loses. Win-lose, win-lose, win-lose. Zero-sum. That's life. Look around. That's how it mostly is. Aikido's different. So in the Aikido Koan, we're looking for that win-win. So how to do it? This is something that you're going to hold, a practice that you can do internally by yourself, all times, all places, all circumstances, every relationship, especially when stress comes up, especially when conflict comes up. So, there's 3 parts. There's 4 parts to the Aikido Koan. The first part, you repeat to yourself, I'm not passive. So, and I don't mean suppress the passivity. I don't mean that. Just a contemplation. I'm not passive. Yeah, it's like a mantra. Second one. I'm not aggressive. I'm not passive. I'm not aggressive. Third one. I'm not passive aggressive. So this is your mantra. This is the koan. I'm not passive. I'm not aggressive. I'm not passive aggressive. I'm not passive. I'm not aggressive. I'm not passive aggressive. Remember, in conflict, the ego wants to go. It's like, okay, I'm going to be aggressive, or okay, I'm going to be passive, or okay, I'm going to be passive aggressive. But if you say that, if you repeat this mantra, I'm not passive, when you start to move into passivity, wait a second, I'm not passive. Or when you start to move into aggressiveness, you're like, wait a second, I'm not aggressive. Or when you start to kind of manipulate things under the table, whatever, and you know what's going on. The people around you don't know what's going on, but you know, you tell yourself, okay, wait, I'm not passive aggressive. So in a way, it like cancels out those three very natural. By the way, these are intelligences. They're kind of low-level intelligence, but they're survival coping mechanisms. So there's an intelligence there. But these can't, in a way, they not suppress, but what's the word? Neutralize these basic intelligences, these survival intelligences, so a higher intelligence can come through. Aikido intelligence. So, as I said, there's 4 parts to this koan. The first one is I'm not passive. The second one, I'm not aggressive. And the third one, I'm not passive aggressive. Then you've got to drop the fourth move in. Who am I? That's a koan. Now, you don't remember with koans, it's non-conceptual, non-intellectual, non-logical question riddle, and you can't answer it with rationality. You can't answer it with logic. I mean, you can, but those answers is not it. If it's coming from logic, it's not it. If it's coming from rational, it's not it. If it cancels these 3 things out, it cancels out the move of being passive in conflict. If it cancels out the move of being aggressive in conflict, and if it cancels out the move of being passive-aggressive in conflict, who am I? And then you hold who am I, and you just stay in that space. Hold that space, hold that space, hold that space, hold that space. Sometimes stress and conflict doesn't give you enough inner capacity to actually hold that space. That's why we practice. It creates more and more inner capacity in the mind, more and more inner capacity in your heart. You open the heart and you hold that space. I'm not passive. I'm not aggressive. I'm not passive aggressive. Who am I? I'm not passive. I'm not aggressive. I'm not passive aggressive. Who am I? And you can just, when you do this, you just feel the energy kind of opening. That stress kind of closes us down, contracts us. I'm not passive. I'm not aggressive. I'm not passive aggressive. Who am I? It relaxes the stress, the contraction. It opens the heart. It opens the mind. It allows you to drop into being. Every principle that is a principle in Aikido only exists when you and I are in a state of being. They don't exist in a state of stress. They don't exist when we're kind of contracted around conflict. The Aikido Koan, a simple micro teaching, goes really deep, and you can take it all times, all places, all circumstances. I'm not passive. I'm not aggressive. I'm not passive aggressive. Who am I? So that's what I want to leave with you. That's kind of my gift to everybody today. I do want to tell you a few things. If you practice this Aikido Koan, you'll see benefit. You'll see benefit, and you'll see results and benefit pretty quick. To really be grounded in this place where we're not passive, not aggressive, not passive aggressive in the midst of conflict. To be grounded there, we kind of need a long-term practice. We get the right situation with the right people, the right circumstances, we can kind of drop in easy. But to really kind of be living from that place, you have to have a long-term practice. And this koan, you don't even have to meditate ever. If you just take this koan and you work with it, it'll start to cook. It'll start to mature. That practice right there, it's a direct practice, will take you deeper and deeper into, it will lead you along the path of maturity, certainly in a spiritual tradition. Yeah, so this video, this little teaching, this micro teaching on the Aikido Koan, my wish is that it would somehow help you take your practice deeper and have somehow make a shift from the material to the spiritual and kind of realize how that actually it just creates a better life, a better community of people to be around, and certainly a better world. And with that, I'll say goodbye, and I wish you all the best on your path of practice. Goodbye, everybody.